Hello friends! If there is a flavor of game I always gravitate to, it's the obscure and unconventional. And luckily for me, the Xbox 360 was loaded with these oddball yet worthwhile titles. The games I will be covering in this video are specifically on my radar, but a little outside of my budget. And I hope to find deals on these offbeat entries. Also, I myself am a bit of a misfit, so outside of the compilation games later on in the video, you should see a little subtle theme or minor similarity between these games. See if you can figure it out. Also, thank you for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump into obscure and oddball 360 games that I want to add to my collection before they are too expensive. Let's go! So first off, we're going to talk about Naughty Bear Gold Edition. Right away, I get some major Conker's Bad Fur Day vibes with this title. Naughty Bear is an odd action-adventure title from Canadian studio Artificial Mind and Movement. A silly and violent parody of 80s franchises like the Care Bears, this title has you take control of the titular Naughty Bear, who is super pissed off he wasn't invited to Daddle's birthday party on Perfection Island. Even though this game was panned by the critics, something about this title has always had my attention, and I really want a copy of this Gold Edition because it includes all the DLC, it has new levels, more costumes, and most importantly, more weapons. Naughty Bear Gold Edition is roughly $37 complete in box right now. I must admit I owned this game actually a long time ago when I bought a lot of games locally, but I ended up selling it before I could give it a go. And I very much regret that after finding out that Deadly Premonition is a wacky, far-out detective survival horror game with a lot of David Lynch and Twin Peaks influence. I'm told by my peers that it's one of a kind for many reasons, despite its shortcomings. I can assure you, when I come across an affordable copy, it's gonna stay in my library for good. Deadly Premonition is currently selling for $40 complete in box. It would appear that Darkest of Days is what most 360 game collectors bring up often, since it was so overlooked pretty much until it wasn't. On the surface, this time-traveling first-person shooter appears to be a dime-a-dozen bargain bin release, but its premise and story is so bonkers that it's slowly gaining popularity in our current 360 scene. I recall seeing this title at my local retro game store for 15 bucks, and I always passed on it. Well, I've learned my lesson since it's gone up nearly 300% in value since then. Plus, I really need to play the level where you're mowing down Roman soldiers with a Gatling gun? Or at least I think that's what happens. Darkest of Days is currently going complete in box for $40. I'll be the first to admit that I could care very little for the racing genre, unless there is some interesting hook. Driver San Francisco follows a very mid-2000s action movie storyline where you play as a professional driver in the titular city of San Francisco, but you have the ability to jump between people in real time in a bizarre rogue NASCAR level spirit, just possessing random people. I'm also told that one of the last missions in the game is super cool and one of the most refreshing ideas in the series, maybe even in the genre. And for all these reasons, I hope to find a copy before it gets even more expensive than it is. Driver San Francisco is currently complete in box for $45 dues. I love Splatterhouse. It really sums up the slasher-inspired craze of the late 80s and early 90s. Somehow, this 360 version absolutely dodged my radar until I decided to delve into collecting. And man, do I wish I grabbed this when it was only $20. This is Splatterhouse in all its over-the-top, gory, and violent glory, brought into the 7th generation of consoles with special features such as the original games being included on the disc. Another reason I seek to acquire this title is also because it's the only Splatterhouse game I haven't played in the entire series. I mean, I even own the Japanese Famicom re-release repro cart. I mean, just look how dope this is. I love it. And it plays on my original NES. But I don't have the Splatterhouse on the 360. So it is way, way in my scope. Splatterhouse is currently going for $50 complete in box. Now, I'm not the hugest fan of the Saw franchise, but when I discovered they had a Saw and Saw 2 game on the 360, my interest was piqued. When I looked more into it, I realized that it's a super bizarre and hyper violent, gruesome escape the trap room survival horror game. And even though some people think it's garbage, I have to play these games. They're just too weird. Also, this is one of those games that just keeps going up every time I turn around. So next time I see Saw or Saw 2 Flesh and Blood, I'm grabbing it, even if it is $50, which is currently the price they're both going for. Now, these next games they're compilations, but they're bizarre and pretty unique compilations. First off, the Dreamcast collection. I was a huge Dreamcast stan. I was there $99.99 when it came out. I bought one. It was one of the first systems I saved up money working to buy in my early adulthood. And I can't believe that they even have a compilation disc of old Dreamcast games that you can play on the 360. So not only am I interested in that, but these Konami Classics Volume 1 and 2, these are awesome as well. One of them has Symphony of the Night on it, and the other one has Track and Field, which I absolutely adore, and an arcade version of Russian Attack. Currently, the Dreamcast collection and the Konami Classics are ranging about $40 to $55 a piece. But just like I've said before in the past with my other videos, compilation games always go up in value. Mark my words, these Konami Classics and this Dreamcast collection, they're not going to be under $55 very much longer. Well, there is a short list of some games that I really want to buy, but I just can't afford at the moment. If you know of any deals, or maybe you want to add your own suggestions of quirky games that are not too expensive, then go ahead and throw them in the comments. I appreciate all the views, all the likes, all the suggestions, and keep your eyes peeled for a Xbox 360 games to collect before they're too expensive Volume 3 coming out in the near future. I love you, never judge a book by its grammar, and have a super garbage day.